Move, cripple. The cruel words cut through the salty air of Santa Monica Pier like a knife, followed by mocking laughter that seemed louder than the crashing waves beneath the wooden planks. A girl in her late teens, sitting quietly in her wheelchair, flinched as a group of boys roughly nudged her chair with their sneakers, nearly tipping her forward. She had only come to watch the sunset, to feel the ocean breeze that reminded her of freedom. But instead she was being cornered by shadows of cruelty. People around them noticed, but most pretended not to see. Eyes shifting away, hands suddenly busy with phones, as if ignoring it would make it disappear. But one person, standing at a distance, did not look away. And that choice would change everything. Her name was Lily, and her legs hadn't worked since the accident 2 years ago. Once a promising dancer, she now found herself trapped in a chair that felt heavier with every insult thrown at her. Her parents were working double shifts to keep their lives afloat, and she often came here alone just to escape the silence of her room. But the pier, once her place of peace, became a stage for her torment as the bullies circled like predators. "What's the point of coming out here? You can't even walk." One sneered, his friends laughing as he shoved her again. Lily clenched her fists, holding back tears, telling herself not to break down in front of them. Her heart raced, not from fear alone, but from anger. Anger at herself, at life, at the way people saw her as fragile. She wanted to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. The pier had grown quieter, the setting sun painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple. The boys didn't notice the sound at first, the low rumble that seemed to rise from the wooden planks. Then it grew louder, like thunder rolling across the ocean. Heads turned, conversations hushed, and the laughter of the bullies faded as they looked down the boardwalk. A line of motorcycles appeared, one after another, headlights glowing against the dimming horizon. Dozens of bikers, leather vests and steel machines, riding as one unstoppable tide. They slowed, forming a wall of chrome and steel around Lily, their engines rumbling like growls. The lead rider, a towering man with a long gray beard, shut off his engine and removed his helmet. His eyes fixed on the boys with a steady fire. "That's enough," he said, his voice deep and unwavering. The bullies, suddenly stripped of their bravado, shuffled backward, muttering excuses that faded into the air as they bolted into the crowd. The sea of bikers didn't chase them, they didn't need to. Their presence alone had spoken louder than fists ever could. Lily sat frozen, her chest rising and falling as if she'd been holding her breath for hours. One biker stepped forward. A woman with kind eyes and braided hair, her leather jacket covered in patches that told stories of roads traveled. She knelt beside Lily, gently touching her hand. "You're safe now," she said softly. For the first time in a long while, Lily didn't feel invisible. The strangers who surrounded her weren't looking at her with pity, but with respect, as if she was one of them. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks, not from pain but from the overwhelming relief of being seen, of being defended. The leader placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and smiled. "No one should ever stand alone," he said. "From now on, you've got family." That night marked the beginning of something Lily could never have imagined. The bikers didn't just vanish back into the highway. They stayed, they talked, they listened. They learned about her accident, about her dreams that had been buried under the weight of her chair, and her fears. They told her about their own scars, the battles they had fought. Addictions, losses, nights spent on the edge of despair, and how they had found strength in brotherhood and sisterhood. They weren't perfect people, but they were real, and they saw her not as broken, but as brave. Slowly, piece by piece, they helped her rebuild what she thought was lost. Weeks turned into months, and the bikers became part of Lily's life. They would swing by her house, take her out to the pier again, and make sure she was never alone. They raised money to help her join adaptive dance classes, cheering the loudest when she moved her body in ways she thought she never could again. The same pier that once echoed with cruelty, now echoed with laughter, engines, and the sound of hope. And though she couldn't walk, Lily danced in her own way. Her spirit stronger than any legs could carry. As the story spread, people began to see her not as the girl in the wheelchair, but as a symbol of resilience, kindness, and courage. She inspired others to speak up, to stand against cruelty, to choose compassion even when it was easier to look away. And one evening, as the sun dipped below the ocean, Lily wheeled herself to the edge of the pier, the bikers behind her like a wall of unshakable strength. She looked at the crowd gathering, strangers who had come to hear her story. Her voice trembled at first, but then it steadied, carried by the fire that had been lit in her heart. "They tried to break me," she said, "but what they didn't know was that strength doesn't come from standing on your feet. It comes from standing up for each other." And with those words, the viewers who had followed her journey to the end realized something profound. This wasn't just about one girl, or one moment at a pier. It was about the choice everyone has, to turn away, or to rise like a sea of bikers, when someone needs protection. It was about humanity at its rawest and most powerful. Lily's story was no longer hers alone. It was a mirror held up to the world, asking each of us a simple question: when the time comes, will you be the one who looks away, or the one who rides in?